to the spot like Phil Collins sang it. Fresh new fade with the mustache banging. I know you want to know where the fuck I'm from.
Check it out real quick. Okay, so new guest.
Amen. There you go. You can say Amy if it's easier.
Nah, Amen is good. From Sacramento, right?
Yes.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Let the audience know where you're coming from.
Well, I'm 29 years old. Mm-hmm. I'm a mother of 4 and a wife. God first, always. I run my own podcast called For the Souls Podcast. It's a testimonial-based podcast focusing on the trials and tribulations that people have lived growing up and the wisdom that they've gathered from it. I've been in the content creating sphere, truthfully, since 2014, but I took a break 2016 for like a year to really like focus on family and then ended up coming back. So I kind of missed the peak of like social media taking off. And then I came back and here we are trying to build it up again.
Yeah, so you say it's built on like testimony based, like based on like real life stories and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because those are the most interesting ones, you know.
Yeah, no, and I found that one of the things that's been the most healing for me is speaking so openly about the things that I've lived through, and I find that people really crave that authenticity. You know what I mean? You're mirroring to them where they're at in their life, and you're giving them hope through your wisdom. So that has always been my motivation.
And it's kind of like therapy too, right?
Yeah,
like
in a sense.
We're actually getting to talk to some people that actually are listening and have something, relative, you know?
Yeah, and even more so too, I interview a lot of homies and I can't even tell you the amount of people that had this like stereotypical idea of the lifestyle or people engaged in that lifestyle. And then to hear their stories from childhood and growing up and like what they've endured that kind of led them down that path and how they're trying to redirect and change their lives for the better. It humanizes them in a way that I feel like is needed because sometimes those barriers, those preconceived judgments is what keeps everyone kind of in their own box and not willing to get to know people. And then those stigmas live on, you know what I mean? Those stereotypes.
Yeah, because they don't. Yeah, you're right. That's kind of like what we're doing over here. We're trying to shine the light on the positive side of things, you know, because everybody hears the negative. And when you hear these stories of these people that look like this, walk, like people like us, and you right away just stereotype them and think, negative, right? But you don't know these people came from this, a mother that loved them, a father that loved them, and sometimes they came from people who didn't give them enough love, and so everybody has a story.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and then you find like relatability in that,
right?
Because all of us were children at some point. We all needed love or desired for certain things for the most part. And when you find that relatability in somebody that you wouldn't normally relate to, like it just forms a connection there and just an understanding that I think is helpful.
I find it hard to relate to some individuals that actually had all that love, because they don't respond to the things the same way you do, And it's just like, kind of, no, I'm not trying to say like a silver spoon thing. It's like, but you don't really have no reason to be the way you are. If you're trying to portray yourself a certain way, it's like, you actually had it good. So
I actually agree. But I think that actually comes from the lack of challenges and adversity in their life. And so they look for those challenges. Like our natural human way, our primal instinct is to kind of problem solve and troubleshoot and challenges and mistakes are the things that kind of help us grow and learn. So when you're raised in a family that is like more silver spoon or coddled and your parents kind of helicopter and hover over you and don't let you experience challenges in life, you don't develop that part of your brain that can adapt to challenges, and then it creates that complex of like, why would you want to act like you're hood and you like we're over here trying to get out the hood and then you're trying to act like you from it, you know what I mean? But it's because of that wanting to connect and have that same experience of others. Like, well, I went through hard things too, and I had to figure things out too, But
So, what's the most? I'm sure you're interested. I mean, you interviewed a lot of people, but what's the most interesting person you interviewed?
I would have to say, I'm trying to think back at everybody that I've interviewed. I would say there was a guest named Blue 52 that very much intrigued me. He's from Stockton, and just his level of intellect and spiritual understanding really, it just like, it kind of shocked me. I was like, wow, he's also engaged in like, a hood lifestyle and whatnot. But to hear someone have such profound wisdom at such a young age, well, we're both the same age, but it's still pretty young. But from a male, I was like, wow, this guy's like he's in tune spiritually. I would say another one too would be Thumps. I think you can really tell Thump's heart and his discipline as a man and desire to get ahead in life and speak about his experiences and the layers of himself shamelessly.
Yeah.
And then I really appreciated, both of those.
All right.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's just start talking about some adult stuff now.
Okay. I'm always down.
So how long you been with your husband? You guys are married, right?
Yeah. We got married, 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago. We're going to be 12 years.
12 years together,
12 years
married
in.
for 2 years.
Married for 2 years.
Okay.
I met him when I was 17 years old, and he was 18 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Me and my girl, we got together when we were 17.
Yeah, young.
Right. But it's almost 30 years. I think we're going on to 29.
What's the secret?
Oh, that's a good question. Damn, okay. Well, let's do this. The secret is to like have an understanding and not be such a like a crybaby about life, like, and play a victim all the time and just, okay, you know what, let's just roll with the punches and just deal with it and stay consistent and just not sit there and like every time something don't go your way, we're going to throw fits, we're going to have fights and stuff like that. But just as long as you don't walk out.
Yeah. And you know what? That's crazy you say that because I was literally thinking about that today. And I feel like a lot of younger people or like people that are looking for love like that longevity, they have this naive idea of like a relationship or a marriage is supposed to be like a utopia. Like nothing, nothing's going to go wrong. Right. We're going to be healed and we're never going to have no trials. The reality is marriage is hard, or being in a relationship long-term is hard because you're growing through life together. And it's your willingness to get through those hard times together that actually builds the strength in a relationship, in my opinion.
Yeah, see, that goes back to like the hood dudes that are really not hood. It's like they lack of conviction. Like you ain't really had enough trials and tribulations in your life to understand that this ain't nothing. This is just petty what we're going through. And, you act the craziest for the smallest things. And it's like, oh man, this ain't for you. You know? It's only the strong survive, and
the wise.
Yeah. So, if you're going to be petty your whole life and stuff, that's a sign right there. Like, oh, this person's going to be weak. So maybe you got to be the strong one in the relationship, whatever. But it is like that. You might have some people, and you might strengthen them and they might strengthen you, because of you come from different walks of life.
Yeah.
So, who's the strong one in the relationship?
I think we're both equally strong in different avenues. I'm very traditional in the sense that I would not be able to be with a man who doesn't know how to lead. Okay. And I'm traditional in that sense and like my biblical understanding of what it means to be a wife and a lady. But I'm obviously not traditional. I have my own podcast and I'm on your podcast right now. That's not usually what a traditional wife would do. But he's definitely the stronger one in terms of leading our family and directing our family.
Okay. Well, you sound like a very understanding woman and very smart. But in the heat of the moment, are you like that too?
Oh, hell no.
Keep it real.
No. I will say my hardest
I'm saying wait, before you answer that, like I'm not talking about when you get mad or whatever and you act out. I'm talking about, do you still stay consistent and like still love him at the end of the night?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they're don't get me wrong, okay? We've been together since we were so young and we went through so many things in our relationship that were meant to break us. Mm-hmm. And there was times where I felt like we were going to throw in the towel and it was done and we've taken breaks and, breakups and things like that. The longest we broke up was like a year and a half. Mm-hmm. But throughout those moments, we learned that the most pivotal thing that we could do is lean on each other. Uh-huh. And it has been hard because no one is going to trigger you more than the love of your life. Right. Because they know you better than anybody.
That's a good point. And that's because their opinion means more to you than anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're doing life with you. Right. My husband knows everything that has ever hurt me. I'm an open book, but if it really came down to it, if anybody really wanted to hurt me and hit me where he knows it's going to hurt, would be my husband, because he's been there with me and knows all of me, all my layers. And so, you know, when those arguments hit, and if we're being petty that day and he knows what buttons to push, well, then I'm right there with him and we're pushing buttons. Yeah. But one kudo I really give my husband is that throughout the years, and this goes back to his leadership, he really knows how to bring that down. If I'm being emotional and I'm in my feelings because he triggered me, he is really good at, all right, we were both being petty, but let's talk about it, because we love each other and we need to get over it, and let's sit down and have a conversation. I'm a little bit more stubborn where I'm like, okay, well, then you talk first, you know? Whatever. And I'm the one that likes to talk. So
that's funny. Do you ever... So you're stubborn. You don't seem like the stubborn type.
No, I would say I'm pretty stubborn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty
stubborn
open.
To where? Like, do you shut down and stay quiet, or stubborn to where?
No, I'm stubborn. So it's a little complex because I've lived so much with my husband when we were younger. I think a lot of it's very hard as a woman to overcome resentment, right? And so you're fighting against. How do I explain this? I heard a guy explain it really good. So you love a man, right?
I mean, you do.
Well, no, not you, me. But as a woman, you love a man, right? And you get with that man and certain betrayals happen and things happen. And you still want to love that man the way you loved him before those betrayals happened. But you are not the same person now.
Okay.
You know, and we got together so young and we went through so much that it's like, I'm not who I was when I unconditionally loved him before he broke my heart. He gets a different version of me now because he's created wounds in me that I've had to heal from. The hardest part about not letting that ruin our relationship now is in those moments where I'm feeling stubborn or frustrated with him, taking myself out of he's not our past and we're not our past. And I have to remind myself that resentment that comes up when I'm triggered is just trying to suck me back into a cycle that we've already broke out of. And for a lot of women, that's hard to do. That's why there's this constant, like, you live in the past and you're always bringing it up and, you know, because it's hard.
I get it. You know what? I think back to the secret you said, because there's many secrets, is kind of like equivalent to having a down-ass homie that you could fight with and drink a beer after, you know, and you don't go and talk shit about each other. You know, you keep it between you two, and you don't go and try to campaign and get somebody else to hate on him because of you. He punched you and you punched him. Like, it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing with the relationship with the guy and the girl. One of the worst things you could do is get in a fight with your husband and go and tell your mom or your dad or your cousins, because then they're going to look at him a certain way, and then he's going to feel the vibe, and he's going to get a complex when it goes around him, and that's going to be one problem there.
Yeah. And I think too, the caveat with that, it depends on the family. I come from a family where I didn't see the healthiest marriage displayed. You know, truthfully speaking, when I look back at my parents' marriage, it was everything I didn't want. You know, I kind of learned like what to be because of what I didn't have. But one thing that my mom has always just embodied is a family should stick together, you know? And there was a point in time where her and my husband could not even look at each other, you know, like it was bad. But that grace that she's embodied, that unconditional love and that mercy that we believe in through faith. As she spoke about it on an interview that I did with her one time, she realized that if this was a man that I love and I'm going to be with him, then she has to also open her arms to him and love him so that he, through that love that she gives him, he may love me the way she would like for him to love me.
Yeah. And that all goes back to the lack of conviction. You know, like some people forget where they come from, maybe. I don't know. Because if she went through a lot of stuff, I relate to a lot of that, what you're saying. Because it's like, if you would understand and hear me out, then you wouldn't just, because you only heard one story. You would hear me out, you'd probably be a better judge.
Yeah, exactly. You know and be neutral and like, be balanced in your approach.
Like my oldest is 25 and I got 3 boys, and you know, they all have girlfriends, and I'll be damned if I ever hear his side, and I'll be like, come on. let me hear exactly what happened, and I'm never gonna look at their girls any different unless I hear the other side.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
and that's necessary, because if you don't have family like that can understand that, then it does create this, oh, well, we don't like him anymore. Oh, don't bring her around, or don't.
So I'm not on my son's side. I'm not on my son's side when it comes to their girlfriends. I'm on the problem.
Yeah.
I'm against the problem, and I'm on both their side.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's how it should be, because that models to people. I know for my mom doing that with us, it modeled to us that it is important for us to fight for our family.
Yeah.
It is important to have other adults around and outsiders looking in, that if it gets to the point where people, like if I confide in my mom or whatever, right? Yeah. He can also confide in my mom as well. And she is going to approach it from a place of love to both of us.
See, that's gonna strengthen that triangle with you, your mom, and him. You know, because he's able to tell his part.
Yeah.
It's like going to court and the judge is only gonna hear your part, not hear his part. So he has no.
It's biased.
He has no horse in that race. You know.
Yeah.
So it's like, damn.
And you know what, too? A lot of my mom's drive is for the children. It's for the grandchildren. She's like, you know, we lived our tumultuous things with like my biological father and the way things were handled. And I think one of the biggest lessons we learned is that as adults, the biggest thing that we could do is model to our children stability and what healthy families look like, and healthy communication and unconditionally loving each other. That doesn't mean not have any boundaries, you know, but approaching issues in an intrafamiliar way that is healthy and conducive to like the longevity of the family as a whole. You know, because if we're not right, the kids aren't right. And then if the in-laws aren't right, the whole fucking family gets thrown off, because now Christmas is weird. You know?
Yeah, but overall, like if you can't, your responsibility ain't the whole family. Responsibility is just you and your man. You and your man, because without you and your man, the kids ain't gonna get a good day.
Yep.
And then without you and your man, you won't be able to go give the family a good time. You know?
Yep, 100%.
So it's like, I've been through that for years. And what kind of fixed us towards the last 10 years, and we just started walking alone, just being her and just pushing everybody else away. Not pushing them away, but just like, hey, if you're not, you know, putting in a positive way, we're going to close the door.
Yeah,
you know?
and you know, a lot of healthy couples get to that point. You know, I see a lot of couples that have, and that's not wrong, don't get me wrong, it's not wrong to have a lot of friends and always be in the mix and all of that. What I'm saying, though, is one thing I have observed is that usually the healthiest couples tend to be very selective about the people that they have around them and the family that they choose to engage with.
Yeah, we made a lot of mistakes like that in the past, because we used to throw a lot of parties and bring everybody around. But, you know, as I started getting more spiritual and a lot of bad things started happening in my life, I started noticing, you know what, maybe them Christians or them, you know, Christians, Catholics, whatever, you know, whoever believes in God, are telling the truth. Watch who you let into your home, because they could open up portals and bring bad vibes into your home. You're like, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
Today was a good start. You know, everything was fine.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, just boom, just like some kind of wave of evilness just hits the house and everybody's mad.
Yeah, and it's actually scientific. A lot of people don't know that when it comes to energy, we release certain hormones. And if you're in the same energetic field as somebody, those hormones that you're releasing, that other person is absorbing. So like if you see like a negative Nancy comes in the podcast, and man, everyone's like, man, that's because their energy is rubbing off onto us.
Yeah, I was telling my son this morning, like I always told people it's not like I'm like some kind of psychic, but I have a heightened sensitivity. Like I could feel somebody's vibe. Like, dude, I don't care. Like, so when I would go out to bars, I would have a lot of issues when I was drinking, because I'd be like, what's up with that? Like, why do you walk by and shook everybody's hand, but walk by me and like, and it could be just like, maybe he thought that I was looking the same way, so he didn't want to approach me. I was unapproachable, maybe, you know, to his eyes.
Well, you know, from the exterior, you do look intimidating. So
you know, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, I want to be talked to too. I want to, you know, I want the love too, you know? So in the same way in your home, when somebody comes in your home like a guest, if they kind of put their head down when they walk by you, it's kind of like, maybe they're not a good people person, but I'm still gonna be like, hey, you just walked by in my house and my son didn't introduce you. So let me introduce myself. Let me catch you a little bit. Let me feel your temperature a little better.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know what? People find like issue with that. Like introverts, they'll be like, you know, you guys always trying to make us talk and stuff. To me, and this is just how I was raised. Maybe I'm old school. It's just a sign of respect.
Yeah.
You come into someone's house, you say hi to everybody that's there, you shake hands, you make eye contact. Like, it shows that I'm in your home, I respect your home.
Yeah.
If someone comes in, they're on their phone, they ain't really talking, they're looking down, they're not saying much. I'm just like, what's up? Like,
Well, I've been through a lot of shit, so I'm gonna feel like, what's up? Why you ain't, who's in your motherfucking ear? Excuse my
no,
we
yeah.
had to blurp that out.
Oh, are you? Oh, I'm glad you guys told me, because
Yeah.
usually I cuss.
Yeah, though we had to do a lot of blurping on the last episode. But,
Okay.
I'll be like, who's in this person's ear, But it all boils, it's just so back to the what we're starting to say is that you got to be careful who you let in your home.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't sit there and try to coach everybody who comes along. And like you said about some people who just want to stay quiet and don't want to talk to people and they get uncomfortable to be talked to. Well, when I'm in that mood, I don't go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to somebody's house and bring my issue.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, for example, 10 years ago, I had a relative of my woman's come over with her family. And this guy was like, we're all setting up, watching the 49er game and barbecuing and everything. We're having some drinks. And he sits at my table with us and I'm like, hey, what's up with you? Like you look all pissed off. You can feel it, right? He's like, hey man, just watch the game. Like he told me in my own house, watch the game. I said, I didn't want to make a scene right there, right? Because everybody's right there, right? And then I'm like, is that the most brattiest thing you could ever do? Like as a grown ass man.
To disrespect another man's home?
Yeah, and this person's been to the pen and everything too, but it's like you don't bring like damn, you have no control. You know what I mean? So what I looked and I just didn't make a scene because I didn't want everybody to follow. So I just waited for it and I got a beer, gave him a beer, moved around, and so everybody's eyes were off us. 5 minutes later, I took him in the garage, and I said, hey, what's going on with you? Of course they're going at it, him and his lady and stuff like that, but you don't bring that into the house. That's between you two. This is my house. I'm the guest. I'm gonna have to address you in some kind of way. I want to feel your air. You want something to eat. You want a beer. You want a soda. You want a water. And when you when you blow somebody off like that, this could cause a wreck,
Yes.
You're lucky this is the first couple of beers, you know what I mean? And I didn't have a lot of people here because people would have been like, who the hell is this dude?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Were you close friends with this person?
No, not at all. He was just related to a certain,
Gotcha. Because I have like certain friends that became like family. Like,
if I knew the person, I'm like, you just going through whatever.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, oh shit, But
you don't got to explain to me nothing. If I know you, it's like, I already know who you are.
Yeah, but if it's the people that you're kind of still getting to know.
First time in my house.
Oh, yeah.
Like, who the hell is
that would have
this?
rubbed me the wrong way.
I got kids. I don't know what you're going to do if you're going to blow up and start snapping and acting weird, so.
Yeah, for me, just see the principle behind it to even
that was the
feel
last
so
time they ever came over, though.
Good.
Made that
Good.
clear, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's necessary, those quick and easy cutoffs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When people show you immediately who they are and how they get down.
So back to you and your husband, who's the clean freak? Are you guys equally the same, or is one has to be more clean?
Me.
So you're the clean freak.
Oh, I'm the clean freak. I'm very A-type personality when it comes to organization.
Okay. So when you remind him of something, does he get irritated by it?
I don't think so. Let me think. No, I don't think so. He's really good.
So what's his responsibility in the house as far as cleaning?
Well, he's a provider. So his responsibility really, besides providing and being a good father, I really don't require much. to be honest, because I honor those two things that he brings to the table. Right. But he's really good at seeing, like, if I'm having a day where I'm super overwhelmed with the kids and I'm overstimulated and there's dishes in the sink, he'll handle the dishes so that I can go put the kids to bed and, like, just take a load off.
So he's considerate, right?
Mm-hmm.
To get things out your way.
Yeah, but like the man stuff around the house, the yard, the dogs, anything pretty much outside, he'll handle. And we're kind of really structured in my household too that, like, my kids are ages 10, 7, 6, and 3. All of them have a chore to do. You'll see my boys taking out the trash. They each have a room in the house. It's age appropriate that they have to do. So that kind of takes the load off of the housework.
All right. So you don't. So you don't work. He works.
I don't work. He works. Yeah.
Okay. So you do this. Okay.
I just do the podcast.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Well, in our house, it's a little different. We all work. We're all doing stuff like that. So you got the traditional thing going.
Yeah.
That's good. So he doesn't have to do nothing but come home and pay the bills.
For the most part,
that's respectful. But,
and just be a good present dad. He grew up hood and he grew up not having a household where there was affection, and that's his story to tell. But one of our struggles in our marriage has been like, I need you to overcome what you need to overcome and face what you need to face as a man so that you could show up for the kids in a way that they need you to be there.
That's right.
And he's a great dad in lots of aspects. It's the emotional connection that I think a lot of men struggle with that is hard. You know, I've talked to so many men that are like, we didn't grow up with hugs and kisses and I love yous and stuff. And then he's got the most affectionate kids that are like, Dad, and running to him and wanting to jump on him and stuff. And for him, that's like, oh, this is different to have so much this type of affection in our house, you know, and me as a wife trying to just guide him and let him know, like, it's okay. You could give the hugs back and embrace back, you know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
you know, I relate to that because I'm not like my sons when, you know, they're all big boys and sometimes I want to get up and give them a hug, you know, and it's rare that I ever do that, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just the way it is, you know. It's like I grew up, I told my girl not too long ago, I'm sure years ago, but I stopped like caring to sleep in the bed with my mom or getting hugs from my mom at a young age, real young, because she was always in and out of jail and prison and stuff. So it's kind of like, I don't know, what do you call that? Like I flew the coop at a young age where versus some other kids they're still, you know, want to hug their mom. And when I hug my mom, it's like a good hug, you know, it's a love, but it's not like one of those hugs where, you know, the kid wants to hug their mom. But that could be a problem in the house because a man, no matter how tough you are, you still want to give your love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You still want to show because ultimately, like, love heals a lot of things.
Yeah.
So your kid's going through a lot of stuff. And as, you know, sometimes I just want to get up and give him a hug, but I have to get these words out. And then we sometimes just bump heads instead. I'm like, you don't even know what my intentions were. I want to just grab you and hug you, but I had to say this first. And then we'll just go around and around.
Yeah. Or maybe try hugging first and then words after.
Man, that's easier said than done.
It is. But I know just from what I've read, statistically speaking, the role that men play in their households, in their leadership spiritually, like a man who goes to church and has faith, right? His children are 98%, don't quote, in the it's like 95 to 98, okay? Don't come for me if I get the number wrong. But they're, I think, 98% more likely to grow up still faithful to whatever religion or belief system. When it's just a mother that's doing it, that percentage falls down to like 75%.
Yeah.
And it really shows the impact of a father-led household and the impact that has on the kids.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, I very much approach my marriage that I know that I have an emotional wisdom that my husband doesn't have. My job as his lady is to bring him to that emotional wisdom, to teach him what I know so that he may apply that as a man and as a father, as the male in our household, to lead our family.
Man, so you probably are like a really good shoulder to lean on when he's having the roughest time. Like he could really... Will you open up and understand him? Like, what's wrong with you? What's bothering you? If you ever see him having a real bad time, do you like pick up on his vibe or do you find out what's bothering him?
My husband is very, he's stiff in the sense that he will not want to show his emotions. But because I know him, there has been those times where I'm like, babe, what's going on? Talk to me. So you got to lean on me.
So has there ever been a time where he's just in a bad mood and he's not sharing it because you say he keeps it to himself? Do you feel like it's an attack on you, or do you go and find out what it is?
It depends. I'm very like intuitive like you, where I kind of read the room. And I grew up in a household where I kind of had to walk on eggshells with my own father. So a lot of how I acted was determined by the mood of my father.
Because you know when you act on it, it just turns it, his problem never got answered. It just turns into another problem.
Yeah. There has been those times where I feel like, is it me doing something wrong? But we're really good. We're really good at communicating. And I'll be like, you know, what's going on? You know, are you upset with me or what is it? And he'll be like, no, it's not you. It's, you know, just something else. Well, do you want to talk about it? No, not right now. Okay, we'll talk about it later.
Problem solved. So you know it's not you. So you can go on about your day and you can blow that off. But if you go and do the tighten up, I call it the tighten up because you're just like, your heart, everything starts hurting when you think it's for you and you get all upset and you act on it. And it just blows everything out of control. You know what I mean?
And I think you got to know your partner too. Like I know my husband. I know that when he's going through a hard time, he's the type of man that he will take it to the chin and he'll figure it out himself. He's not going to bring that mental load to me. Whatever mental load he has as a man, he's like a big believer that that's his mental load to bear. And it's hard. And I think a lot of men are like this. It's hard for him to be like, hey, babe, I'm struggling with something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's where I know him enough to know that, like, maybe if he doesn't want to talk to me about it, and it's an ego thing or pride thing where men like to figure out their problems by themselves. I know that if I'm feeling that sense from him, then that means that night he's getting extra cuddles and extra head rubs and a back rub, and he's gonna release those emotions or that tension, whatever he has going on inside of him, in another way.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean he has to verbally say it to me, but he's going to know that energetically, spiritually, I'm here for him.
You know what? I like that because, sometimes I'll be upset, whether it's, around my family, my girl, or somebody, and I don't want to talk. I don't want to say nothing. I don't want to say nothing because my mind, it's not that I want to talk to you about it. It's not that, I'm pushing you away. It's like I'm so much in my head right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure the problem out on my own. And sometimes some people get upset and just think that I'm blowing them off and ignoring them or something. I'm really on to something right now. I can't lose this. Yeah, I'm upset. Yeah, you can feel it. You can feel the energy, but it's nothing to do with you right now. But let me try to figure it out on my own real quick. But
I'm more so like that.
Yeah.
I'm more like that. And he'll be trying to get it out of me. He'll be like, what's going on?
You see?
What is it?
And that frustrates him, right? Right? Okay, so vice versa. So I could be like that a lot because, yes, I'm going to talk to you. Because I want to be able to, ask for some help, your opinion. Because like you said earlier, your opinion matters to me, like the most. Like my girl's opinion matters to me the most. Hers and my kids. So if I can't get that from them, I'm going to be upset. But before I get to you, let me try to figure it out on my own. But sometimes she'd get upset, and think that I'm ignoring her or something like that, and she'll start slamming doors.
Well, do you let her know it ain't her?
Yeah. But it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But some people just,
I think sometimes that need to like lean on me. Like, okay, I get that you're struggling and it ain't me, but lean on me. Because I feel like sometimes my husband is like that with me too. Like,
well, because she knows it's kind of my fault sometimes because she knows like when I'm in that mode, nothing, if she tries to come touch me or anything, I'm just like real irritable, like I got too much going on, but it's nothing to do with you, but she'll still inherit it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Well, we absorb each other's shit. You know what I mean?
But back to the basics, it's like a down ass homie. You're gonna bump heads, but as long as you don't walk away from each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I always tell people, you don't marry somebody that you can't go to war with. The person you marry should be somebody that can sit in church with you and pray over you, and someone that if it came down to it, you all both put someone 6 feet under and take it to the grave.
Yeah.
It's got to be you guys against the world. There has to be that level of trust and that friendship. I know when me and my husband were struggling a lot in our marriage, when the love wasn't there, the friendship always was, and that friendship saved us so many times.
That's right. Well, you don't. So this next question is: you don't look like somebody that would intentionally embarrass your husband or assault him, but has there ever been a time where you guys were at a party or you had friends over and you said something and he didn't like the attention you gave him about whatever situation?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've been together almost 12 years.
I mean, that's what a lot of couples fight for when they're around people, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So how do you guys deal with that situation? You guys have it out right there in front of everybody, or do you guys stop talking to each other at the party? Or do you guys take it outside?
Well, we're our circle of friends, we're very tight knit. If you're at my house, more than likely you'll probably see me and my man snap at each other. You know what I mean? Because we're like a family. It's almost like you're in the Brady Bunch at our house.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you don't turn on each other.
Yeah, no. He just, he'll not look up like physically, but he'll like, he'll get in his little ego, and then he'll be like, yeah, whatever, we'll talk later, try to dominate in that sense, and I'll be a little smart ass and be like, okay, yeah, huh,
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much just how it goes. But then later, the times that I have and I've felt that way, I've always come to him and been like, I'm sorry that I did that, or I didn't think about what I said before.
So you always clean it up.
Yeah.
Then that's
you
good.
have to. You have to, because you got to be accountable,
Because in every little situation in a relationship, and I feel like I could speak on this out of experience, and some authority after almost 30 years, you know what I'm saying? Out of every little situation in the house, as long as you didn't have nobody, as long as you didn't catch your man in the bed with another girl, or you didn't catch him at a club with another girl, or something crazier, right? But it's just spilled milk. And all you have to do is clean it up by going and explaining it's not like that. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. Hugs, kisses, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's just all. But some people are so stubborn where they can't get to that point for days.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, and that's where, it gets really toxic.
Well, it used to be very hard for me to apologize to my husband when I was wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But that also stems from the resentment, though. That also stemmed from my mentality, and my approach was like, okay, I fucked up. Oh, sorry, I messed up. But how many times have you messed up? How many times have I had to forgive you? You know, it was from this mentality of like, okay, well, if, in comparison to what you've done, this ain't nothing. So whatever, deal with it. Like this is the least that you could deal with given everything you put me through. That was my mentality. And as a woman, if you're trying to have a successful family, that is one of the worst mentalities that you can take, because what you're going to do is destroy not only your husband, yourself, your marriage, and your children.
Right.
I had to put on my big girl chonies and be like, okay, this mentality stems from a place of hurt and stems from a place of resentment. If I chose to stay and work it out and fight for this marriage and this relationship, that requires accountability and it requires sincere fight, which that sincere fight is, I'm thinking of this from this perspective, which is why my approach is like this, which is why I'm talking like this or not talking. I got to change that. If I want my marriage to be successful, that means swallow your pride, say your sorries, come correct, and own up to it.
Right, right. Yeah, don't prolong it, because all it's going to do, that same problem is going to be there if you don't clean it up. It's going to be there for 2 days, 3 days, a week if you don't go in there and just clean it up. Kiss
And it's a snowball effect. It's going to be one thing after the other that's piling up, because now every little thing that goes wrong, you guys are going to be at each other's necks for. You know what I mean?
Right. So let me ask you this. I'm sure you probably have some kind of little complaints, like nitpicks, whatever, but do you praise him more than you will nitpick? Like, do you praise him around, not just with him, with you two alone? Do you praise him around others?
I would say for the most part, yeah. I mean, I just got complimented. I don't consciously think of it. You know, when I speak of my husband, I just, it is what it is. The other day I got complimented that someone was like, you always speak so highly of your husband.
Oh, yeah?
Believe it or not, there was a point in time where I didn't have nothing good to say.
Well, okay, look. I know a lot of women do speak highly of their men, right? But most of the time it's behind their back. Do you praise him while he's there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what actually made me start doing that is we were going through a rough patch. And I was like, oh my goodness, like he just cannot understand what I'm trying, like he's not comprehending what needs to happen, you know? And then I was just reading about like, you know, healthy tools in marriages and things like that. And positive reinforcement is so necessary for men, from what I read. And
what do you mean by that? Okay, break that one down.
Okay. No, I'm not correlating y'all to dogs, okay? But you know, when you tell a dog, good boy, and then they continue to do good things.
I had this analogy in my head the other day about a girl, the way she treats her man could be like a dog. Like, oh, like you want to love him when you're in a good mood and you're kissing and hugging him and stuff. But when you're in a bad mood, you're pushing that dog away. Look at that dog in his face and stuff. But you could see a dog, you'd probably be more emotional for a dog faster than you would be for a human man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's kind of the same. You know, you positive reinforce a dog, they're more likely to want to do whatever it was that gave them that positive reinforcement.
Like raising a kid.
Yeah, the same with children.
Motivation, confidence.
Husbands are very much the same way. And I think a lot of women have a hard time just showing their appreciation for men. I think a part, because usually most relationships, there was a lot of baggage that came with that, right? So a lot of it stems from, I don't want to show that side of myself anymore like I used to, because it's a fear. You know, when I wasn't praising my husband and when I wasn't telling him how much I appreciated him, it stemmed from a place of fear, because that comes with vulnerability. Now I feel like you know that I love you and I'm head over heels for you, and you might dog me out the way that you did when the first time you knew that I was so in love with you like this. Overcoming that fear and stepping into that praise for your husband is a game changer. I used to have this thing where once a month I would tell my husband like 10 things I love about you while he's at work. And it's not just like little things. It's like things that I've really analyzed in him that I love about him. But then that kind of tapered off a little bit. And then I learned about the positive reinforcement. And so then I started like,
that positive reinforcement.
I love when you do this.
You know what I mean? Because so what I'm getting out of this, correct me if I'm wrong, is when you positive reinforce your husband, you're installing confidence, right? Does he perform better as a man?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So, okay. All the girls watching.
No, it's true, because men, you guys, and you're a man, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are very challenge oriented. You guys are solvers, fixers, logic, reason. It's got to make sense in your brain before you do it, right? When you guys are positively reinforced, the sense of accomplishment is there, and it's going to make you want to accomplish more. And it's going to make you more open to the challenge, right? If a girl's nagging at you and being like, well, you need to do this and you need to do that, and making you feel like crap and telling you all your wrongs all the freaking time, you're kind of like, well, dang, like, can I?
Yeah.
Should I?
Yeah, you're
like,
going to have like a low self-esteem and,
yeah.
and your confidence levels. It's kind of like I have, all three of my boys in sports all their lives, and not just one sport, multiple sports.
Mm-hmm.
If you take your son to practice or to his game, yelling at him about his room, about this and that, and, where's your pads? You ain't got shit together. By the time he gets there, he's going to have a low self-esteem. His confidence level's going to be low. So what I learned is like, don't say shit on game day. Don't say nothing. Just go ahead and just let him flow and let him get, because he's going to perform a lot better.
Yep.
I had to learn the hard way with that. It's like, you'll see your kid out there in the field and you'd be like, see him kicking rocks, be like, dude, that's my fault. And you could feel it immediately, but you're just like, you don't want nobody to see it. You're like, damn, that's my fault. And if you don't see that, you got to be some kind of retardedness or something, like something's wrong.
Well, a lot of people don't have that introspection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right. They don't.
My dad was like that. I'm like,
lack of empathy or something. Like, you don't feel what he's feeling. You don't feel that. You don't see that.
Yeah, which is why I think it's so important to have these podcasts and these conversations, because I think a lot of people do struggle with that emotional connection. Not a lot of people are intuitive, where they sit and think about their impact on others. And a lot of that comes from no one ever sat and thought about the impact they were having on them. Yeah. So to survive life, they had to shut those emotions down and push them to the side so that they don't feel that shame, that hurt, that loneliness, that abandonment. Yeah. And then you grow up becoming numb. You grow up shutting off those emotions. And with shutting off those emotions comes the lack of empathy. Right. And now you're struggling more as a wife or as a husband or as a father, as a son.
Right. So you mentioned something about your biological father. I'm getting that, like, you weren't raised by him?
I wasn't. Him and my mom had me when they were 16 years old. He was like a family friend. Like, my uncles were just into doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And my mom ended up finding out a few months after she was pregnant that he actually had a girl living with him and they were planning on getting married. I mean, this was like back in the day when like Mexicans were like, y'all got to get married type of thing. You know what I mean? They were young, like 15, 16 years old. And he initially didn't believe that I was his because of the circumstances of how my mom got pregnant. And he never came back into your life? He did. He came back into my life when I was 10. And
that's already too late.
It was, but I always had. So I was told at 6 years old that he wasn't my stepdad wasn't my biological father. During that same year, my stepdad had his biological daughter with my mom, and there was a really big shift that happened in the family where it was apparent that, I'm not his blood daughter, and I could feel it. You know what I mean? So at that,
wait, hold on. So how fast? I mean, how soon did your mom meet your stepfather after being...
When I was 9 months old.
Oh, that's pretty fast.
That's pretty fast. So I grew up thinking that my stepdad was my dad.
But he knew that you weren't his? Okay. And so your stepdad is your dad then, if you grew up thinking that. Is she still with him?
No, they're going through a divorce.
Oh, but you still have a connection with them, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, because I did from a child perspective.
The reason why I said it's too late for your biological father, I'm just saying because of me, because I relate a little bit. I didn't meet my dad till I was 8. But there were stories when they were battling, custody battle with me when I was a baby and stuff like that. But I didn't have, for years, I still know him, I still talk to him, but I don't have no connection like that. Like, I don't feel like if something would happen to him, I wouldn't be that, like, it'd be like, that's kind of sucks,
Yeah, I think for me, it was a little different because, like, getting back to what I was saying, that same year, just there was a major shift. I found out my stepdad wasn't my dad. I found out I had a biological father, and then my sister was born, and my dad treated my sister way different than he treated me.
At 10?
This was at 6.
Oh, shit.
This was at 6. So
you found that out at 6?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've always been a little bit mature for my age. So
damn. That's probably what made you a deep thinker.
I feel like even before that
moment. Oh, really?
Yeah, even before that, I've always been someone that was very fascinated with life. Like I remember my first memory at like 3 years old, and I was swinging on the swing set, and I just thought, wow, how wonderful it is to be alive. And I started thinking about, how is it that we breathe air? in the trees. And like I was listening to sounds and like maybe a little bit on the autism spectrum, to be honest. But that's kind of just, I've always been very fascinated with life. And I just always had this depth to me. Like I would talk to my mom about God and all kinds of stuff. She'll tell you like I was just always thinking these profound thoughts so small. But yeah, so that year that shift happened, from ages 6 to 10, well, 6 to my whole life, but 6 to 10 was really hard for me because I wanted to know my real dad, because the dad that I thought was my dad was showing me that I'm not a part of this family. And so I had this naive idea that, well, if I meet my biological father, then I am going to be a part of a family.
Well, why was he showing you that, though? Like, was he like, I mean, he knew you weren't his, right?
Yeah, I think...
well, because the love is different for a daughter that's really yours.
Yeah.
And you can't really blame him that, because because I just had a daughter 7 years ago, and that's the love of my life.
Yeah.
So if I had a daughter and I know that wasn't my daughter, it's like going to be hard for me to show that one more love. I'd have to do it though, because that's a little girl. She has no idea, right?
Yeah.
I still have to do it, but I don't know.
Yeah. See, I'm not completely sure. There's. I
may be wrong on that one. I think I jumped into that one a little.
No, you're right in that sense. Like, I always thought like my stepdad. I call him dad still, but my stepdad raised me, right? But he didn't love me. So I always looked at him like, you're my dad, because, you taught me how to ride a bike, and
just
you were
looking
here.
at him like that would make him fall in love with you.
No. My stepdad was very, he would do things like, tell me nobody wants me.
Oh, wow.
Or,
oh, wow. So yeah, that's,
you better make me give up.
Oh, man.
No, it's fine. He just, from a young age, everything that I did was overanalyzed all the time. And it was very apparent that I wasn't good enough. And then I got to an age with him where like, I started noticing, well, if I think more like him and if I act more like him, he'll love me. He'll start like having that bond with me.
That's too young to be going through that, man. I'm sorry to hear all that.
No, it's okay. So then he got me like, just into like committing crimes and selling and all the street stuff that I know, all the game that I'm laced up with. I owe it to my stepdad. He was the one that put me up on all that game. But what a lot of people don't know is I learned all of that because I was trying to bond with him. And that bond never came. And so I met my real dad at 10 years old. And I thought it was going to be great. I was like, oh, I look like this man. I always wondered what he looked like. And I was able to kind of like, okay, this is cool. Like, he's coming to my games. But then with him, he didn't tell his wife that he was seeing me. And I vividly remember him telling me, like, you can only call me at certain times or I'll call you because I have to be like a secret.
Right.
And what he didn't realize is I'm already feeling like this dad don't love me, and now you're my real dad and you're trying to keep me a secret. Like, hell no, not happening. So I actually, at 10 years old, I told my real dad, I said, if you're not going to tell your wife about me, then there's no reason for you to be in my life because I'm not nobody's secret. And he cut me off. He scheduled to go to lunch with me and he never showed up.
Why would no dad want to be like, you turned out to be you don't even look like you came from anything like bad.
Thank you. Yeah. And then he ended up coming back in probably like, I think I was 15. No, later than that. He came back at like 18, at 21, and at 27. Those are the times that my real dad came back in my life. Each time was pretty much the same story. It was very hard for him to maintain a relationship with me because his wife was very against it, given just the background. My siblings were already felt some kind of way towards me because they didn't find out about me until later that their dad had a whole oldest daughter. It was just a really hard dynamic to live through. I felt like no adult was mature enough to realize, like, here's a little girl that needs her father.
That's just really upsetting, man. Like, I really want to put like a comment on it, but I'm gonna leave it off. I don't know those people, but because I put yourself in my daughter's situation. If something would have happened to me when she was a baby, and she had to go through that. Like, that's so heartbreaking. Like, how could you do that to a little girl? You know, like, I tell my family, my friends and stuff like that, like, that little girl needs 1,000 kisses a day. Like, I don't know how you can't do that. Like, you know, it pisses me off. I don't know how some people be detached to their babies like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know either. And this last time, like, I had told myself, because I'm a very understanding and forgiving person, I've done a lot of work to understand.
Wait, I don't want to cut you short, but I want to get this question in. How does your husband feel about them?
Oh, my husband will go to war against anybody over me.
So he has to feel some type of way, right?
He does not feel good at all.
Okay, good boy.
Good at all.
Good
about
man.
Nothing,
good man. Because if somebody treats my girl and she's 46 years old, like, I'm like, I don't care who you are. If you treated her bad when she was a baby, I don't like you.
Yeah. No, my husband does not play that with me. But he was very understanding to, like, me trying and attempting to give, like, my biological father another chance. But this last time around, I was older. He wasn't talking to he had already gone through a divorce with his ex-wife. That was a big problem in our relationship. And he wasn't talking to his kids on that side, which should have been a big red flag first. But he ended up going through some hard times. He's in prison right now. And in prison, I had told him when he was out here, like, I will fight to have a relationship with you and try to get to know you. Prison? My biological father.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, okay, then, we're going to do this. Like, he seemed very sincere about being sorry for not being in my life. He even had met my stepdad at some point.
So he was like living a ghetto life when you were born?
Yeah, not necessarily a businessman life. A businessman life that'll make you end up in the pin.
Well, that's ghetto.
Well,
I mean, I lived that life too. I can speak. I mean, I caught a case about the same thing, stuff like that back in the day. But on his behalf, I'm gonna say this because I got relatives who left their kids to go to, just abandon their children. Something happened to them at a young age, maybe mentally and stuff like that. And that stuff never changes, as you get older, no matter what. Your brain's wired a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of like if you break a leg and your bone heals crooked, you know what I mean? That's the way it's going to be. You know what I mean? And it's not going to change unless you fix it. Yep. I mean, you could fix it, but it's not that easy. It's complex.
Yeah. No, I know why. I actually had a very serious conversation with him, and kind of, I'm very analytical, so I picked his brain. And I narrowed it down to what it was that made him like that, And it's the trippiest thing, because if you were to meet me and my real dad, we are so much alike. Like, we're both very charismatic. We're both very, like, just outgoing. We're both very wise in our own ways. But I was just telling my husband the other day, I was like, it's almost like he used the gift that we have to do bad in life. And then that gift that I have, I used it for good.
Right. Okay.
That's like the only way that I could describe it, because me and him are like twins. It's the weirdest thing, but he uses it for, like, greed and selfishness and to make himself come up. And I'm more so like, I use this gift because I want to bring everyone with me, and I want to give back to the people that were once in my shoes, feeling my pain. Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like maturing, realizing, and giving thanks to the people who had a part of raising you, whether it was bad or not, because it made you to who you are today.
Yeah. Yeah. So with my real dad, I tried to maintain that, but then I think the straw that broke the camel's back is he had told me that his other daughter that he did raise, he was like, because they weren't talking to him, and he was like, she said that I just need to apologize and then we'll move forward. But I'm not gonna. Yeah, he was telling me that this is a conversation he had with her.
She's older than you, or younger?
No, I'm the oldest.
Oh wow!
And she's 7 months younger than me, and he was like, I'm not gonna apologize to her, and I said, why? I said, but you owe her an apology. I said, you've lied to her whole life, and she's struggling, and from what you've told me, that's your closest daughter. Like, why wouldn't you apologize to her and own your wrongs as a father? And he was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And, it's still very much ego. And at that moment, I was like, if you can't make things right with the daughter you raised for 26 years and you're freshly in my life, then I would be a fool to think that me, inevitably a stranger, you're going to do right by me.
Right.
And so I chose to cut that relationship off. And then it was easier for me to do that too, because I still, at this point.
You cut it off with who?
My biological father. Yeah. So, like, I stopped trying to get to know him and, like, maintain that relationship.
I think that's the best thing. I mean, it keeps coming back. It's like there's really no sense in it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then as it pertains to my stepdad, who I call dad, our relationship was always, I mean, I told you a little bit about it. It was always wrong. And once I got to that age of adolescence, obviously I started pushing back. When I was 17 years old, he put hands on me. And I had to leave my house.
17?
I was 17.
Damn, 17? That's like it's kind of hard putting hands on a boy at that age. Like, it's kind of too big.
It was just one of those things where, because I wasn't his oldest, he would do like this thing where he would tell like my sister, like, don't be like your sister, or don't be like her. He would tell me like, run away. Nobody wants you here. And I had gotten into a little argument with my sister because they weren't listening to my mom. Obviously, I'm the oldest, trying to get everybody together. And my sister told me that. She's like, why don't you just run away? Nobody wants you here. And when I told her that, I was like, hella hurt, because she kind of never respected me. Like, my dad never gave me that place as the oldest sibling. So she kind of, and I don't blame her because she was a kid and this is just what she saw her parent model. Yeah. But that respect, like a sibling respect, wasn't there. And so she would repeat to me the same hurtful things that he would tell me growing up.
Yeah. So, that's called learned behavior. So, you could forgive her, but not him. He was older. He knew better. You know what I mean?
So in that situation, I told her, I was like, you talk to me like that, I'm gonna hit you.
If you tell that to your daughter and you love and you love the hell out of your daughter, right? Then and you just were being a joker about it, but you tell it to somebody that you don't love, that's kind of, that's cruel.
Yeah.
That's cruel.
No, he would mess with my head my whole life. Like, he would tell me like, maybe if you get my last name, I'll love you. I got my last name, nothing changed. I got his last name, nothing changed. It was always very transactional. How much of this can you sell for me? All right, that's going to determine how much I'm cool with you for that week or I love you for that week. If he would go so much as to, if we catch this case, you got to take the blame for me.
Oh, man.
Like, and now as a parent, I think of stuff like that. And I'm like, man, I would never. Yeah, I'd never put my kid in that situation.
I'm going to just say this right now, and I might be out of pocket. See, that dude's no good. That's not a good person, man.
Yeah.
Heart-wise, street-wise, anything like that, that's impulsive. You don't have no control over your mouth.
No, it's predatorial in my opinion.
Yeah.
You saw that I was a young girl that desperately needed your love and validation, and you took advantage of it for your own personal gain. And,
he was messing with your head. That's like I put that on the level of can I say this, like sexual assault. Like you damaged that little girl's brain. Like you shouldn't have did that. You know what I mean? And he probably tried to almost make you feel like you was worthless and stuff like that. And
to this day,
you had to have a low self-esteem. That's not
to
good.
this day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Well, thank God you met your husband and he put that smile back in your face. No.
Yeah. I did try to mend things though with my stepdad for a little bit because like after that, I was obviously living in the street. Got pregnant. There was violence in our relationship at that time, before I left my husband. And I fell into addiction. Like, that's when all the things that I talk about, like, it was that period right after that. I couldn't talk to my siblings for a long time. My mom was in between losing one kid or losing a whole family. So that made me have resentment towards her because I felt like you chose him over me. Yeah. He should have left, not me. And then I reached a point where I just needed to heal. Like, I wanted to come off of the drugs. And I was like, what does it hurt me to go have a conversation with him? So I did.
Go ahead.
I went and had a conversation with him. And I just told him, I said, Dad, look, we don't got to fake the funk anymore. You don't got to fake it for my mom. I know you don't love me. Just be real. I just need to hear it from you so that I can build off of what we've got. Like, let's bygones be bygones. Whatever, my childhood was my childhood, but let's start fresh because I'm tired of this pain. Yeah. And he kept it a buck with me. He told me, like, I don't love you. And, that's hard to hear. And I'm sorry, but I don't know where it comes from. And I was like, all right, well, I can respect that. It hurt me like hell to hear, but I could respect it.
That's one thing I could give my woman her props on is she will not turn her back for her kids. Like, yeah, she go against anybody for them.
Yeah, as it should be. As it should be, I know that taught me a lot of things that I was going to do differently as a mother.
My mom was the same way too. She didn't give a damn about, you could do what you want, but don't mess with my kids.
Yep. And I think that's how it should be.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm really glad you came on and shared this, man. And I'm just like, I'm sad you had to go through that. It really hurts me, guys. I really look at you like like how my daughter would have to go through if I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So, hey, you guys out there leaving your daughters alone, man. Those are the possibilities.
And it leads through. It just led to so many things in my life where, I was seeking that validation, and it wasn't, some girls tend to like be promiscuous and stuff like that. And then some girls just tend to get themselves in situations where they're undervalued. And I feel like that's what it was. I was always putting myself in a position like, if I love you enough, if I prove it enough, if I deal with it enough.
You keep devaluing yourself every time you go and ask for love. Like, no, you know what? Like, you're a grown adult now. Like, you have kids?
I do 4.
Oh, shoot. Okay. All right. Well, then you got your own little world, and God works. They always say he works mysterious ways, right? You went through all that so your kids could have the best.
Yeah. I was actually, recently I had a revelation because like I told you, I was trying to mend things with my stepdad. And for like the last 7 years, we were doing good. Like we were doing good. But then my parents started going through their divorce. And he I realized he was trying to manipulate me against my mom type of stuff.
Oh, wow.
And then when I started like enforcing boundaries, it's a whole thing. He lied on me and Marco and like all this stuff. And then he started telling people like she's hateful and she's resentful and she's manipulative and this and this. He just did the same thing he used to do to me when I was younger, like try to convince me that I'm a horrible, bad person. And I realized like, I can't do this no more with you. And I was really probably like, he blocked me and stopped talking to me and stopped talking to my children and stuff. And then I was like really hurting off of it for like the last 5 months. But earlier this week, I was praying to God about it. And I was like, as much as it's hurt me that again in my adulthood, my stepdad is being this way towards me, like give me some kind of sign, God, like reveal something to me because my heart is hurting. And then I had this epiphany that God, anything I haven't had in my life that I thought I wanted in my flesh, I ended up realizing God was protecting me from. And that is the blessing.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. But it sucks that those are sad moments. Like if you were illustrating that in the movie, the whole theater would be crying. You know what I mean? Like that's some really sad shit you got to go through,
Yeah.
Like, but it made you the person you are today.
Yes.
And thank God for your husband. And now you got those kids that you're going to bless with nothing to do with anything.
Yes, 100%. And that's actually the silver lining. Yeah. I wouldn't change nothing I went through because the wisdom it gave me, the family that's going to come from me, like I know now more than ever what I got to do.
I think that's what we all had to go through because I went through a lot of things like that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're going to have to dive deep on that when you come on my podcast.
Got to get diplomatical. You got to be diplomatical now. You know what I mean? Especially when you're getting older, you can't be this little knucklehead. You got to learn how to whoop somebody's ass with your words.
Yeah. No, 100%.
But hey, we got to close up. Thank you for coming, and you got to give them your IG.
Yeah, so you guys can follow me on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram at ICICYAYME_, or For the Souls Podcast. You can stream that on any podcast platform, video version on YouTube, and be sure to check me out.
We're out.